The Battlefront 3 leaks just keep on coming and they're getting a little bit out of hand at this point. We once again in this video have another Reddit leak for the heavily rumored Battlefront 3, and this one brings a lot more details to the table. Now there are red flags in this leak and a lot of it is plausible and very interesting. All of which we will get into in this video, so even though this leak doesn't come from a credible source, you guys seem to enjoy just the discussion and the speculation, so I thought I'd cover this as I want to clear the air around it as well. And I want to discuss these leaks in like a broader sense toward the end of the video, as things are getting a little bit out of hand. We really don't know if there are any truths to these leaks for certain, and we don't know if they're all a load of BS. Now there are also some other things that we're going to cover in this video, including a hiring call from Respawn, who are the studio behind the Fallen Order franchise, as they're looking to hire people to work on Star Wars. So that could hold something interesting for Star Wars games, perhaps beyond the Jedi Fallen Order franchise, so we'll get to that. But before we do, if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to the channel for all things Star Wars games, and be sure to follow us over on Twitch for regular Star Wars game streams. But now let's just get into it. So, this leak comes from a new leaker by the name of Battlefront Guy 1313, and this leak goes on to say a lot about this rumored Battlefront 3 that's doing the rounds of the internet. Now, we'll list off the stuff in the leak and debunk stuff as we go and discuss the likelihood of some of the things that are said in the leak. So first off, it says Battlefront 3 won't include errors outside of the 9 films, and that Starfighter mode won't really be a thing, will instead be integrated into the main mode where you'll be able to fly in the atmosphere and take down Star Destroyers. So I'm going to stop there, as there is already one big red flag for me. And that is the fact that this leak suggests the game won't include errors outside the 9 films. I find that a little bit strange. For one, the High Republic is going to be like Lucasfilm's new love child, because whether people like to admit it or not, it is doing well. You just can't dispute it. So I find it hard that they wouldn't include content from that era into their new top dog online multiplayer game. Also, depending on the context of what is said here, does this mean the errors of the Disney Plus shows like The Mandalorian are excluded, considering that takes place in between 6 and 7? If that's the case, then yeah, this leak would probably be straight BS off of the bat, as there is no way there'd be no Mandalorian content in a new Battlefront game. Also on the Starfighter thing, that's however pretty plausible. It's no secret the mode wasn't played by many people in Battlefront 2 and it kind of got left for dead. And then they went and made Squadrons, which, you know, doesn't really make sense, but that did happen. So that part is plausible, that they're sidelining a straight up Starfighter mode, as it would be a waste of resources in comparison to boots on ground modes. Now moving on, and we're going to list off some of the other bullet points which go on to say the game will feature a 24v24 mode as well as a 50v50 mode. Ajan, Kloss, Felucia, and Death Star 2 won't be returning, and Eravana, Death Star Original, and Utapau will be making an appearance in the game. So let's stop there before we continue. The 24v24 and 50v50 mode thing is plausible, considering the next gen consoles will be, you know, what the game will be tailored towards. So, you know, that makes sense to have bigger lobbies. We know Battlefield 6, which is basically just like Battlefront, is going to be doing these larger scale lobbies in their new game. So it's completely reasonable to expect a rumored Battlefront 3 to do the same thing. And as for the maps not returning, I find it hard to believe that maps like the second Death Star wouldn't come back. Ajan, Kloss, and Felucia, maybe they're plausible not to see in the game at launch. And Eravana, Death Star 1, and Utapau being included in the game, that's plausible. Now, the Eravana is actually not a planet, it's a ship that Chewie and Han trap Finn and Rey on in The Force Awakens. And that ties into another point made in this post, and that is that Rathtar Hunt will be its own mode. So that makes sense. It's very out of left field, but the Battlefront franchise is no stranger to hunt modes, with pretty much every Battlefront game having some sort of hunt mode. Now, it is also said that the progression system will be closer to Battlefront 2015 than 2017, which I am completely fine with. It was simple as hell, but I thought it was fine personally. It also says IG-88 will be a playable hero, which I think is just weird, to be honest. Now, the leak does go on further, saying there will be 22 heroes at launch, with 2 skins for each. The rest will be unlocked through the Battle Pass. Also, vehicles will spawn on the map. Heroes vs villains will be Overwatch-like. There will be no custom lobbies and no campaign, but there will be an instant action-like mode. So there's a lot to break down there. So first off, 22 heroes at launch with 2 skins each, then the rest can be unlocked through the battle pass. That sounds pretty good to me personally. 22 heroes is the amount of heroes Battlefront 2 has right now in its final state. So to get that at launch would be a good start and would be at least reasonable. Maybe drop BB-8 and BB-9E though in replacement for some more worthy hero choices to put in that 22, that's what I think. As for the battle pass thing, I know people are going to get really shitty about that, but people need to understand how much money these games cost to develop and support post-launch. You can't always expect all this post-launch content to be supported just from launch sales. It's just not the way it works. It's a money-making business. So if they made a free-to-play Battlefront 3, and given how Battlefront 2's downloads went with, Battlefront 2 being on the Epic Game Store for a week and how just crazy successful that was, I think the free route is definitely plausible. And then of course they could incorporate a battle pass done right to support the game. I think that's a great option, just some people kind of need to get with the times a little bit whether they like it or not. But I mean that's all hypothetical anyway, we're talking about leaks here. Now, as for Heroes vs Villains being Overwatch-like, I'd be down for that. I'm not super into Overwatch, but Heroes vs Villains can get very stale, so any change-up would be welcome. And as for having no campaign, honestly, that's not bad or good for me. I think the single-player fix can just be done through games like Fallen Order, and you could just keep Battlefront multiplayer and really dive deep into the multiplayer with full focus. So that to me is fine. But what do I think of this leak overall? I think a lot of it is plausible, but there are certainly some big red flags for me. Now, as of recording, this leak has actually been deleted by the poster, so that could mean bloody anything. So I'm not going to sit there and slap a Mythbuster logo on this one because it's just too hard to tell. I think like any leak, just take it with a grain of salt. But I definitely have my doubts about this one, that's for sure. But it does pose some plausible and cool stuff. But a lot of these details are awfully specific considering if the game is in development, it would have to be in like early pre-development. So yeah, I don't really know about this one, but we'll see what comes of it in the coming months. Now moving on, and I did mention at the start of the video that Respawn did promote a job listing. It says, now hiring heroes, legends, and Jedi, which references their big games. Jedi is interesting because obviously that's referring to Star Wars, and I find it weird that they'd be putting up job listings for Star Wars games when Fallen Order 2 is likely really deep into development. So maybe there is something worth watching with Respawn, maybe jumping into another Star Wars game beyond Fallen Order's sequel. That's all speculation of course at this point, I just thought it'd be worthwhile bringing up. I did find it to be pretty interesting as Respawn's track record with Star Wars games is one game, one big success, so I'd be more than happy to see them dive into more Star Wars games beyond the Fallen Order franchise. So yeah, nothing too crazy to run away with there, but just watch this space, I reckon. But now I want to turn it over to you. What do you think of these leaks? Be sure to let me know down in those comments. Do you think they're a load of crap, or do you think there might actually be some truth to them? Either way, it's fun to speculate, so have at it in the comments below. Like I said before, take it with a grain of salt. We didn't confirm anything here. We're just weighing in our thoughts on the whole situation. But I think it is clear that Battlefront 3 leaks are just getting well out of hand. Are people seeing just the ruckus that these leaks cause and just making more? Or are there actual genuine rumbles of a Battlefront 3 right now? It's really interesting. I still think personally, if a Battlefront 3 is getting made, it's not going to start any form of development until Battlefield 6 launches later this year. But that's just what I think. But that is just about going to do it for this video. Be sure to drop a like if you did enjoy it and subscribe to the channel for more Star Wars gaming content. And remember to check us out over on Twitch if you haven't already. But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you for watching and have a good one.